When we look around at the world today, it's really easy to feel like things are constantly expanding.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
we're building more skyscrapers, generating more data, and the human population just keeps climbing.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's fundamentally more, just more life on Earth than there was a century ago.
Right. But what if that feeling is like a complete illusion?
That's the big question.
What if the universe has this strict, mathematical, completely unchangeable cap on the amount of life it holds?
Right. A hard limit.
And what if the reason the human population is booming isn't because new life is being created out of thin air, but because, well, animals are essentially getting promoted into human bodies?
I mean, it's a staggering premise. It completely upends our standard biological, evolutionary, and really even physics-based assumptions about how existence actually functions.
It really does.
Yeah.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're taking you on a journey through this highly provocative, deeply complex essay written back in 2005 by an author named Feng.
Right, titled The 5 Laws on the Eternity of Life.
Yeah. And our mission today is to explore this fascinating framework that attempts to completely redefine what life actually is, how the universe balances it, and this incredibly bold claim that life at its structural core is absolutely eternal.
But before we really get into the weeds here, we need to lay down a crucial ground rule for you listening.
Yes, very important.
This text contains highly specific metaphysical, spiritual, and religious claims, and our goal today is not to take sides or validate or endorse these viewpoints.
Right, we're not preaching here.
Exactly. We are stepping into this text purely as impartial guides. We just want to help you understand the internal logic, the architecture, and the really fascinating philosophical implications presented by the author.
Yeah, think of us as tour guides in a very complex, unfamiliar city.
Exactly. Just pointing out the landmarks.
Or we're just exploring the blueprints. Okay, let's unpack this to understand how this text claims life can be eternal. We first have to figure out what it thinks life actually is.
Right.
So the essay kicks off with a quote from Dr. Christopher Langton at the Los Alamos National Life Laboratory. He says, quote, "Life's essence lies not in its specific substance, but in its form."
Yeah, and the author uses that quote to draw a massive line in the sand right off the bat.
How so?
Well, we're conditioned to think of life as biological material, right? We think of carbon, genes, cells, the human genome.
Sure, the physical stuff.
Right. But the text argues that physical matter is just the expression of what it calls a sealed book. The matter itself is actually dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the author points out this fascinating contradiction, right? Human beings possess the sheer genius to engineer incredibly complex machines like supersonic jets and space stations.
Which are basically just reorganized matter.
Exactly. But with all our technology, we cannot manufacture a single, simple living ant from scratch.
Because we only know how to rearrange the physical matter. We don't have access to the code inside the ant. So is the author basically saying the physical body is just the hardware, but actual life is the software, like a non-material code that just happens to, pilot a meat suit?
I mean, that's a good way to look at it, but it's a bit more complicated than that.
Okay.
Because software still requires a physical hard drive to hold it, right?
Right. True.
The text defines life as a non-material structure with spirituality. The spirituality aspect is key. It's a structure that can actually experience. And because it is entirely non-material, whoever or whatever designed it must have an intimate understanding of the non-material world.
Which is where the text starts throwing punches at mainstream science, right?
Yeah.
Because it mentions that the masses just write this all off as natural evolution.
Yeah, the author argues that pointing to natural evolution is essentially an intellectual cop-out.
Wait, really? A cop-out?
Yeah, because if life is a non-material structure with spirituality, it can't simply write its own code by accident over millions of years.
Oh, I see.
Think about it. If matter could just spontaneously become alive, then physical objects like bicycles or toothbrushes should eventually evolve consciousness, right? Because they're made of the exact same atomic matter as we are.
Okay, that's a wild image. A conscious toothbrush.
But the text asserts that nature requires deliberate, non-material creation. Without that invisible spiritual structure, a human body is literally no different than a toothbrush.
Okay, so if we accept that premise that our physical bodies are just temporal vessels for this invisible structural code, then we run into a major glitch.
Which is?
Where is this code actually being processed? Like, who owns the server that runs this software?
Yeah. The text has a highly specific answer for that. The operating system is the universe itself.
The universe.
Yeah, and it is an order designed entirely from the ground up to serve life. Capital L-I-F-E.
And the defining characteristic of that order is perfect balance.
Exactly.
The text states that the universe remains stable because the total sum of positive and negative energy always equals zero.
Right, zero sum.
Yeah, it uses the Taiji diagram, the classic yin and yang, as a visual metaphor for this perfect symmetry.
And because the universe is holographic, meaning the microscopic reflects the macroscopic, right?
Like a single cell reflecting the entire universal system.
Exactly. Because of that, life itself must adhere to this symmetry. To map this out, the text introduces what it calls a 36-dimensional space.
Okay, walk me through that.
So on one side of the ledger, you have the heavenly realms. This includes the zero world, heaven world, Elysium, the 1,000-year world, and the 10,000-year world.
And to balance the equation, perfectly symmetrical to those upper realms, you have the lower realms.
Right.
The hell world, the frozen layer, and the plant, animal, and livestock worlds.
Yes.
So if there are heavenly realms pulling upward and hell realms pulling downward, the mortal world where you and I are right now must be the fulcrum.
Exactly. We are sitting right on the razor's edge between those two symmetrical forces. We are the interface.
Wait, so heaven, hell, and earth are basically just cosmic HR departments trying to keep the universal headcount balanced.
What's fascinating here is that the author actually uses an industrial corporation analogy to explain how this balance is maintained.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Think of a functioning corporation. It can only have one general manager. It might have a few division managers, a strict limit of, say, 50 sales and logistics staff, and then the vast majority of the workforce needs to be on the front line doing the actual physical labor.
That makes sense.
But if you suddenly flip that and you have 90 managers and only one frontline worker, the entire corporate structure collapses under its own weight.
It's a fun analogy, but there's a terrifying caveat to it if you apply it to existence.
Oh, for sure.
It means this isn't just about cosmic HR managing headcount. It implies a closed-loop thermodynamic system of souls. The universe isn't just monitoring the number of beings, it is monitoring the energy output.
That is the exact mechanism at play here. The text emphasizes that the universe doesn't care if there are billions of ordinary frontline workers, but the system will critically fail if there are too many kings or highly concentrated energy nodes.
And this dynamic balance is enforced by what the author calls the morality of the universe.
Right.
So universal morality isn't some philosophical concept of being a nice person.
Right.
In this framework, it acts as a literal law of physics, like gravity.
Yes, exactly. It acts as the ultimate impartial auditor. It dispenses reward and punishment mechanically.
Mechanically.
Yeah. The text quotes the old saying, "As a man sows, so he shall reap," but applies it to structural energy.
Okay.
If an individual's consciousness and non-material structure resonate with the high-frequency morality of the universe, they naturally float upward toward the heavenly 36-dimensional worlds.
And if their frequency drops,
They sink toward the hell worlds. This constant churning movement, this transmigration of souls up and down the ladder is the active engine that keeps the universe's positive and negative energy perfectly zeroed out.
okay, but if the system requires this incredibly strict dynamic energy balance just to keep the universe from collapsing, what happens when we look at the data on our own planet?
Right, the population boom.
Yeah. The text points out that Earth's population grew from roughly 6 billion 20 years ago to over 7 2/3 billion. If the universal cap on life is static, if the total amount of soul energy is fixed, how is that math working?
And this brings us to the crux of the text's argument about the constant quantity of life. The total amount of life in the universe never, ever increases or decreases.
Not by a single soul.
Not by one. The author uses a really brilliant analogy about the Earth's water distribution to explain the mechanics of this.
Yeah, I noticed the percentages they use are meticulously specific. Like, oceans hold 97.24% of the water, glaciers have 2.14%, underground is 0.61%, and rivers and lakes are just a tiny 0.00001%.
Right. Now think about the mechanics of the water cycle. If a river drops by half its volume in the dead of winter, we don't panic and assume the total amount of water on planet Earth has been destroyed.
Yeah, of course not.
And when a massive monsoon floods a valley in the summer, we don't assume brand new water was magically manufactured out of nowhere.
It just evaporated, moved through the atmosphere, and rained down
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Precisely. It cycled through meteorological energy states. And the universe operates the exact same way with life.
Ah, I see.
The total energy remains constant, otherwise it would violate the fundamental law of conservation of mass and energy. Life is simply changing its form, its weather pattern, shifting its location up and down that 36-dimensional space.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and we come back to that opening hook. The extra 1.6 billion humans aren't new souls fresh off a cosmic assembly line.
Yep.
The text claims they are transmigrating from other dimensions, heaven, hell, plants, and crucially animals.
Yeah, that's a huge point.
The author points out that in the exact same time frame the human population has skyrocketed, wild animal populations have experienced a precipitous drop. The lost animals are morphing into humans. But, I mean, I have to push back here. I am looking at a gorilla, and I'm looking at a human. The physical differences are obvious. How does the author justify looking past the physical reality we can see with our own eyes?
Well, the author actually challenges you to look closer at the structural reality beneath the surface. According to the text, the core life structure difference between a gorilla and a human is only 0.1%.
0.1%.
Yeah. And between humans, rabbits, and sheep, the structural difference is less than 0.2%.
Wait, I'm stuck on that. Even if we accept that DNA or core biological structures are 99.9% identical, how does that remaining 0.1% physically act as a gateway for such a massive leap in spiritual consciousness?
That's a fair question.
What is the actual mechanism making a rabbit spiritually different from an accountant?
You have to go back to section 1, form versus substance. The physical form, the fur, the claws, the suit is a distraction. The non-material structure is the essence. Think of it like a tuning fork. A microscopic change in the physical structure of a tuning fork completely alters the frequency of the sound it emits, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The text argues that tiny microscopic structural differences in the physical vessel create massive macroscopic shifts in spiritual qualities.
So a 0.1% shift is enough to tune the soul to a completely different dimensional broadcast.
Yes. Think about the difference between an ordinary person and a historically enlightened figure like Jesus or Sakyamuni.
Okay.
Physically, biologically, the differences between them and us are non-existent. But spiritually, their non-material structures existed on entirely different planes.
Right.
The author is urging us to look past the physical form to realize that the non-material essence of a human, a rabbit, and a sheep are fundamentally part of the exact same shifting, transmigrating pool of cosmic water.
Okay, I am tracking with this closed-loop thermodynamic spiritual economy. But human beings are notoriously good at trying to break the rules.
We definitely are.
So, what happens when humanity actively tries to force the system? What happens when scientists in a lab successfully clone a living being?
Yes.
Hold on. If the rule is that the universe has a strict, unchangeable cap on life, how can a human in a lab coat suddenly break the immutable laws of cosmic physics just by splitting a cell? Doesn't that contradict the whole premise?
It seems like a massive contradiction, yeah. But the text addresses this head on. It confirms that cloning does artificially increase the amount of life.
Wait, it does?
It does, but it explains the mechanism behind it through the concept of the holographic universe we mentioned earlier.
Explain that loophole. How does being holographic allow us to basically pirate a soul?
Well, in a holographic system, every individual piece contains the blueprint for the entire whole. Human bodies are holographic. That is why a full person can theoretically be cloned from a single somatic cell.
Okay, the blueprint is there.
Right. Now remember that the consciousness of life is rooted entirely in its structure. The text argues that as long as a scientist duplicates the physical structure perfectly, the universe is essentially forced to populate it.
Forced to.
Yeah. The non-material structure maps onto the physical duplicate, and the clone will possess the consciousness of the original.
So if the universe is a closed economy with a set amount of currency, cloning is basically humans printing counterfeit money.
Yes.
We are forcing the universe to back our fake currency with real cosmic gold.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is a very dangerous game, and the text does not mince words about the consequences.
I can imagine.
The universe doesn't care about our scientific ambition, our curiosity, or our medical advancements. It only cares about dynamic balance and symmetry.
Right.
By artificially increasing life and printing that counterfeit spiritual money, cloning directly violates the moral laws of the universe. It breaks the symmetry of the Taiji diagram.
And what happens when you throw the cosmic accounting book out of balance?
The universe aggressively autocorrects.
Oh boy.
The text warns that this is a highly dangerous signal. Because people are using their intelligence and wisdom to essentially hack universal morality, the system will trigger a massive immune response.
Like what?
The author claims that rapid, devastating catastrophes will follow to restore the balance.
Which means natural disasters aren't random. They are the universe culling the herd to balance the spreadsheet.
According to this framework, yes.
If this system is so precarious, so rigidly defined by absolute caps and autocorrecting disaster protocols, there has to be a prime mover, an architect.
Right.
Because a system this mathematically rigid doesn't just spontaneously generate its own 36-dimensional rules out of nothing. Who set this up?
To answer that, the text takes us all the way back to the origin of everything. The architect is referred to as the greatest creator.
The greatest creator.
Yes. The greatest creator first made symmetric gods yin and yang to establish the base duality. Then, to fill the universe with vitality, angels were created.
Okay.
These angels were further divided and tiered into super-celestial beings and Buddhas.
It is an incredibly complex cosmic family tree.
It is. And the angels, wanting to experience the joy of creation themselves, began creating lower life forms, especially human beings, using blueprints provided by the greatest creator.
But they got sloppy. They messed up the balance.
They created far too many lives for the lower level spaces to handle. They essentially flooded the mortal world with too much energy.
Ah.
The carefully designed symmetry was completely shattered. To fix it, the greatest creator had to step in and manually trigger two massive extinction events on Earth.
Wait, so things like the prehistoric ice age or massive global flood myths weren't just meteorological events, they were the universe aggressively balancing its books.
Exactly. Those events forced a massive percentage of those lives down into the yin world, the hell world, to alleviate the pressure on the mortal world.
That seems like a remarkably harsh, almost cruel autocorrect for a mistake the humans didn't even make. Like the angels messed up the head count and the humans got wiped out.
And the text explicitly acknowledges that. It admits that many lives were treated completely unjustly in this cosmic reset.
Well, at least it admits it.
Right. They were demoted to hell dimensions through no fault of their own. So to balance out the scales of cosmic justice, the upper realms were explicitly created as a refuge.
Like an apology.
Kind of. The 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world. Once that full 36-dimensional symmetry was fully established to account for the injustice, the total quantity of life was permanently capped.
The system was locked.
The system was locked, no more souls allowed.
And where do our human religions fit into this locked system? Because the text specifically names figures like Sakyamuni, Jesus, and Muhammad.
According to this essay, humans on Earth have three distinct origins, which directly map to Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam.
Okay.
The text claims the differences in their doctrines, the holy wars, the centuries of theological debate. It all just stems from the fact that they have three slightly different starting points on the exact same blueprint.
And what about everything else? All the other beliefs?
The author asserts that all other religions are heterodox, have false sources, and will eventually disappear because they don't map to the actual cosmic architecture.
Wow. So if we synthesize all this, what does it mean for the listener?
Ooh.
Because the text seems to be suggesting that these three major religious factions need to stop viewing each other as mortal enemies. They need to compromise and blend together to maintain cosmic harmony. It sounds like merging three rival corporate departments who don't realize they all report to the exact same CEO.
That's a great way to put it. The author's ultimate plea is for what they call a unified perspective theory for humanity.
Like in physics.
Just like that. Like quantum physicists are desperately searching for a unified field theory to tie all physical forces together. This text attempts to unify spiritual forces.
Oh, that makes sense.
The argument is that in the eyes of the greatest creator, all lives are fundamentally equal because life is imperishable. Getting caught up in present-day interests, nationalities, or rival factions is a literal waste of eternal time.
Because your meat suit doesn't matter.
Exactly. The only thing that matters is your future direction. Are your structural choices, your daily resonance with universal morality, moving your soul's frequency toward heaven or toward hell?
Right.
And the fuel for all this, the actual broadband connection transmitting these frequencies, is what the text calls the Tao, the psychic energy of the greatest creator. It's the blood and vitality flowing through all 36 dimensions.
Wow. We have covered a massive amount of metaphysical and philosophical ground today. Let's summarize the ultimate takeaways here, the core of the text's argument.
Let's do it.
According to Swifeng's 2005 essay, there are 5 absolute reasons why life is eternal. 1, the universe itself is eternal, providing a permanent operating system.
Right?
2, The morality governing the universe is eternal, acting as a permanent law of physics.
Uh-huh.
Three beings do not die. They simply transmigrate and change their energy state.
Form over substance.
Exactly. For the Tao, the psychic energy of the Creator lives forever and fuels the system. And five non-material structures, by their very definition, cannot be destroyed because they are not made of physical matter.
This raises an important question, one we haven't touched on yet. What is the tangible proof for all of this?
Yeah, where is the evidence?
If the theoretical physics, the holographic universe concepts, and the cosmological blueprints don't convince you, the text points directly to human experience.
What kind of experience?
It claims that near-death experiences, inexplicable memories of previous lives, or even just the profound visceral feelings we experience in our dreams are all tangible evidence.
Wow.
They are the echoes of our non-material structure, remembering its eternal journey through the dimensions.
It is a staggering, potentially overwhelming way to view reality. And as we wrap up, I want you, the listener, to ponder something. Think back to our opening idea.
The population boom.
Yeah. If this text is right, and your consciousness is not just biological data firing in a brain, but a permanent non-material software bound to an eternal cosmic accounting system, how does that change the way you look at the mundane, everyday choices you make today?
Every action is either raising or lowering your frequency.
Exactly. Or, for that matter, how does it change the way you look at the animals passing through your backyard?
That's a profound thought.
When you look at a squirrel or a bird, are you just looking at wildlife? Or are you looking at a fellow traveler in the 36-dimensional space, navigating the exact same cosmic energy grid, just waiting for their next promotion? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We'll catch you next time.